Israel's military unleashed one of the most shocking and consequential operations in recent Middle Eastern history, when its air force struck deep into the heart of Tehran and destroyed a key Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps command center responsible for internal security and military coordination. This was not a remote target on the edge of the country. This was Tehran, the very nerve center of Iran's system of power. The attack has sent shockwaves through governments and capitals around the world, forcing leaders, analysts, and ordinary people to grapple with the reality that a long, smoldering conflict has now reached an explosive new level of intensity. The destruction of the central IRGC command facility marks a major escalation in the confrontation between Israel and Iran, signaling a clear message: strategic targets will be struck wherever they are found. Before we go deeper into how this strike unfolded, what it means for the future of the Iran-Israel war, and how it could reshape global geopolitics, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. These are historic events that are unfolding in real time, and every development could change the balance of power in the Middle East. Staying informed has never been more important as tensions continue to escalate. The targeted facility in Tehran was widely understood by military analysts to be the Thar Allah headquarters, a key command and control center for the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a unit central to the regime's internal security and military operations. According to multiple confirmed reports, Israel's Air Force successfully destroyed this installation, striking at a core component of Iran's defense and control apparatus. This was not a small satellite office or a minor outpost. This was a facility deeply embedded in the regime's architecture of power. The Thar Allah headquarters had a mandate that reached far beyond ordinary military command. It was directly responsible for coordinating internal security, suppressing internal dissent, managing rapid reaction forces, and linking strategic command levels with ground forces during times of crisis. Its destruction significantly weakens Iran's ability to coordinate military responses, both domestically and externally. What took place was part of a broader operation that Israeli military leaders have described as delivering a severe blow to Iran's command and control networks. According to official statements, the strikes were part of a wave of air attacks designed to dismantle key elements of Iran's military infrastructure, not just one isolated target, but dozens of command centers and operational facilities that form the backbone of the regime's security and military apparatus. In the hours and days following the strike, military and intelligence analysts described a scene of intense operational focus behind the decision. Israel's defense forces had employed precision-guided munitions and coordinated intelligence to penetrate air defenses and deliver decisive hits on strategic targets. These were not random bombings. They were carefully planned and executed moves that struck at the very core of Iran's power structure. The implications of destroying such a critical facility are massive. Disrupting communications and command channels within any military structure can create confusion and slow response times. In the context of Iran, where political control and military operation are tightly interlinked, this attack represents more than physical destruction. It represents a psychological and strategic blow that could hinder the regime's ability to issue orders and coordinate forces effectively. From a strategic standpoint, the destruction of the Thar Allah headquarters may force Iran to reorganize its command hierarchy, reroute communication channels, and rely on backup facilities that are not as deeply embedded within the capital. These adjustments take time in which Israel and its allies may seek to consolidate further pressure. Within Iran, the political and military leadership reacted with fury. Government officials condemned the attack as an act of war and vowed that it would not go unanswered. While Tehran did not immediately announce the full extent of its response, the authoritative rhetoric made it clear that this strike had crossed a line in the conflict. The attack was framed as not just a military action, but an assault on the sovereignty and dignity of the Iranian state. Across the world, reactions were swift and polarized. Some governments expressed concern and called for restraint, urging both sides to seek de-escalation and avoid a broader conflagration. Others made stronger statements supporting Israel's right to defend itself against perceived threats, citing long-standing tensions and hostile rhetoric from Tehran. The diplomatic fallout was immediate, with emergency meetings and discussions taking place in capitals from Washington to Brussels, from Riyadh to Beijing. On the ground in Tehran, the aftermath of the strike was tense and chaotic. Residents described powerful explosions piercing the air and emergency crews moving rapidly through affected districts. Smoke and dust rose over key urban areas, and the silence that followed each blast was punctuated by the whine of sirens and urgent traffic. The strike shook the population and underscored that no part of the country, not even its capital, was immune from the reach of modern warfare. As news of the command center's destruction spread, analysts began to piece together the broader operational strategy behind the strike. Many saw it as part of a larger campaign, often referred to in military circles as part of Operation Lion's Roar, a sustained offensive carried out in coordination with U.S. forces aimed at degrading Iran's military capabilities and restricting its ability to project power. The decision to focus on Tehran itself, striking deep into the capital, was not taken lightly. Tehran is one of the most heavily defended cities in the region, protected by layered air defense systems and surveillance infrastructure. Successfully breaching these defenses to hit a strategic installation demonstrated a level of operational capability that underscored Israel's military reach and precision. In the immediate aftermath, questions began to arise about the internal state of Iranian political and military cohesion. With senior leadership dispersed, command structures challenged, and key facilities destroyed, the question for many observers became not just how Iran would respond militarily, but how it would manage internally. A command center destruction of this magnitude has ramifications that extend beyond the battlefield. It touches on governance, morale, and the very structure of power within the regime. Global markets reacted as well, with energy prices showing volatility amid fears that further escalation could disrupt trade routes and oil supplies. The Middle East sits at the crossroads of global energy infrastructure, and any sign of prolonged conflict can have ripple effects across economies and industries worldwide. In the military sphere, experts warned that this strike could prompt counterattacks by Iran's missile forces, proxy groups allied with Tehran, or other regional actors seeking to support Iran's cause. Analysts pointed to the possibility of missile launches, drone attacks, cyber operations, or hybrid engagements designed to assert pressure on Israel and its allies. The destruction of the Thar-Allah headquarters was not necessarily the end of a confrontation. It could very well be the opening salvo in a series of escalations. Diplomats and policymakers scrambled to respond, calling for emergency meetings of international bodies and urging restraint while attempting to balance condemnations of unilateral military actions with calls for peace and negotiation. Some countries stressed the need for immediate de-escalation measures, fearing that further strikes could pull additional powers into a widening conflict. Back in Tehran, the regime's public messaging began to shift toward resilience. Officials emphasized that while the strike was deeply damaging, the core of Iran's strategic capabilities remained intact, and that the country would answer force with force if necessary. The rhetoric pointed to a long conflict ahead, one where each side would seek to demonstrate strength and resolve. The psychological impact on the Iranian population was profound. For many Tehran residents, the destruction of a central military command in their city shattered any illusions of safety. The stark reality of modern warfare had arrived at their doorstep, reminding citizens that strategic targets are no longer distant or abstract. They can be at the very heart of a nation's capital. Meanwhile, in Israel, the successful strike was portrayed as a decisive and necessary action to protect national security and regional interests. Officials highlighted the precision and effectiveness of the operation and reiterated that threats would be met with determined responses. The tone was one of defiance and resilience, emphasizing readiness to continue operations if required. As global attention remained fixated on the unfolding situation, analysts continued to debate the long-term consequences, Would this strike force Iran to the negotiating table? Would it harden positions on both sides, making conflict more prolonged and extensive? Or could this moment, as dramatic as it was, become a turning point that reshapes diplomatic engagement? For now, the world remains in a state of heightened alert. Governments are reassessing their defense postures, military forces are on elevated readiness, and intelligence agencies are working around the clock to monitor developments. The destruction of the IRGC command center in Tehran has altered strategic calculations in the Middle East and beyond. What happens next will depend on decisions made in capitals far from Tehran, in strategic command centers, and in diplomatic chambers where the future of peace and security hangs in the balance. The impact of this strike will reverberate through military circles, political arenas, and civilian lives for weeks and months to come, a stark reminder that in today's world, no battlefield remains distant for long. As this crisis continues to evolve, stay tuned for more dramatic updates and deep analysis. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with every major development in this historic and volatile conflict.